Welcome to the HFY Codex Tale. If you like our videos, keep supporting and subscribe to our channel. The planet that screamed. The sky above Veleri Prime was once soft and golden. Birds sang, rivers whispered, the cities glowed with light, not fire. The Veleri people lived in peace. They had no soldiers, no warships, no weapons. Their strength was in thought, in unity, in silence. But that peace shattered in seconds. The first explosion. At dawn, a loud sound broke the morning air. A tower near the outer ring exploded into flame. Fire rose into the sky. People screamed. Children ran into the streets, confused and barefoot. In the capital, a message blinked across every screen. Warning, unknown ships entering orbit. But by the time leaders gathered, it was too late. The invaders had already landed. The Galactic attack. They called themselves the Galactic, a race of brutes in metal armor, 3 times the size of a Veleri. They didn't speak, they didn't explain. They burned villages, crushed homes, grabbed people like animals. Their ships hovered in the sky, dark and wide like beasts of smoke. No one knew why they came. No one knew how to stop them. Sayla runs. Sayla, a young Veleri historian, ran through the burning library, clutching a glowing data crystal to her chest. Books burned, screens shattered, memories were dying. She wasn't trained for war, but she knew what history had taught. When the strong crush the weak must cry out. She reached the old signal tower and climbed inside, smoke rising all around her. Her hands shook as she touched the console. The message sent. "To any who can hear this," she whispered, "we are the Veleri. We are peaceful, we are unarmed. We are under attack. Please someone, anyone. Help us." She hit send. The message echoed into space, weak, broken, nearly lost in the stars. But it was enough. Sayla collapsed beside the console. The tower above her cracked, and the sky above her turned black. No answer. The Galactic Council received the signal. They reviewed it, filed it, and ignored it. "Veleri Prime is outside our trade zones," said one voice. "Helping them would anger the Galactic," said another. "It's not our problem." The vote was silent. No action taken. One forgotten listener. But far, far away, on a quiet side of Earth, an old defense system blinked. Titan III. Once built for war, now nearly forgotten. Its AI stirred from sleep. It scanned the message, translated the voice, ran a risk check. Then it sent a ping. Captain Mark Relan, retired Earth Fleet officer, got the alert on his wristband while walking his dog. He stopped, replayed the signal, his eyes narrowed. And he spoke 4 words. "We're going to Veleri." Ending hook. Back on Veleri Prime, the fires still burned. Sayla opened her eyes weakly, half buried in dust. No one had come. She looked at the sky and whispered again, barely breathing. "Please hear us." And above her, across galaxies, someone did. A signal reaches Earth. Far from Veleri Prime, across black space and broken stars, a small signal reached a blue and green planet. That planet was Earth. The signal was faint, damaged, cracked by static and fear. But Earth had ears in the dark. Titan III awakens. Beneath Earth's northern ice cap, inside a secret mountain vault, an ancient defense AI flickered to life. Titan III. Built during the old wars, buried during peace. It had not spoken in 91 years. Until now. Incoming distress call detected. Source non-human, language unknown, emotion urgent. Do you wish to respond? A soft green light blinked on the wall. A hand pressed the button. The old soldier listens. Captain Mark Relan was no longer in uniform. He had retired after Earth's last border war. Now he lived in a quiet cabin near the sea, fixing old tech and watching stars through a telescope. He hadn't touched a fleet console in years. But when his wristband chimed with the Titan III code, he sat up straight. He played the message. "We are the Veleri. We are peaceful. We are under attack. Please help us." Then silence. Mark didn't blink. He stood up, walked outside, and looked at the stars. "No one's coming for them," he whispered. "Except us." The command center reacts. Titan 3 connected to Earth's military uplink. Screens lit up. Generals stared at the message. Unknown species, outpost world, 0 trade value. Let the council handle it. But Mark stepped into the room and said, "The council heard it already. They said no." "And what do you say, Captain?" Mark stared at the screen showing a burning alien city. "I say one word, and the sky over that world goes dark. Because we'll be there. The order's given. No votes, no debates. Just a signal sent from Earth to space. Fleet Alpha, load and launch. Medical Division, prepare field teams. Railstrike cruisers, await fire command. Mission code, Stormshade. No parades, no press. Only warships moving silently through the void. A child on Valeri Prime. Back on Valeri Prime, a small Valeri child named Kiv hid under the remains of her home. She held a cracked toy-like crystal. Her parents were gone. Her sister was silent. The Gralvik marched nearby, boots heavy like thunder. She whispered one word into the dust. "Help." She didn't know someone was already on the way. Ending hook. Far above, a human stealth fleet broke through the edge of Valeri's sky. Cloaked, watching, silent. A single message left the command ship. Not a warning, not a threat. Just a promise. "You called. We heard. Prepare for extraction and fire." The Council laughs at Earth. In the shining halls of the Galactic Council, high above the core world of Orion, the galaxy's most powerful leaders gathered. Screens floated midair, showing news feeds from across systems. Some panicked, others quiet. A Valari distress call blinked red at the edge of the data stream. Most ignored it. One delegate spoke, voice bored. "Another outer colony under attack. A shame, but not our concern." The vote. The council leader, a silver-scaled being named High Voice Tereth, raised a hand. "Shall we respond?" The votes came quickly. "No. No. Too far. Too risky. The Gralvik are not to be challenged." Then a pause. One delegate, a small-eyed insectid from the Tevleri sector, cleared his throat. Earth responded. The chamber fell quiet. The laughter. Then someone chuckled. Then another. Humans, the fire apes. They still use bullets. They'll burn in hours. The laughter grew louder. One delegate smirked. "Let them die trying. Maybe the Gralvik will eat them next." Not everyone is amused. But one council member, Ambassador Raya, stayed silent. She leaned forward and whispered to her assistant. "Pull up Earth's war record." Within seconds, a screen flickered to life. Wars, victories, losses, rebuilds, more wars. Then one line stood out. First species to fight a war against itself and win peace through strength. Raya's eyes narrowed. They don't fight for glory, they fight when no one else will. The human fleet moves. Far away on the edge of Valeri space, Earth's fleet uncloaked. Ships glided like silent shadows. Black armor, no lights, no signals. 32 vessels. All fully armed. The lead ship, EFS Titan's Reach, sent a simple signal. Entering Valeri orbit, authorization none. Response to distress, immediate. The Gralvik's confidence. In orbit above Valeri, the Gralvik flagship picked up the signal. General Skarn grinned, his tusks sharp and dripping with pride. "One planet's worth of metal toys, let them try." He raised a hand. "Send our fighters, burn them before they speak." Hundreds of Gralvik ships launched. They flew like a swarm of fire. But they did not know. Earth had been waiting for this. Ending hook. Inside Titan's Reach, Captain Mark Roland stood on the bridge. He stared at the incoming enemy fleet. No fear. Only calm. He turned to his weapons officer. "They laughed at us." He gave a soft nod. "Now show them what silence looks like when humans answer." The cannons charged. The sky began to burn. They blotted out the sky. The sky over Valeri Prime was red. The capital burned. Smoke reached the clouds. The screams had grown quiet, not because the pain had ended, but because the people had grown too weak to cry. In the center of the ruins, Sayla sat with a wounded elder beside her. The elder's breathing was shallow. "No one came," he whispered. Sayla looked up, her eyes full of ash and sorrow. "Maybe someone did." The final strike. On the edge of the city, the Graalvek readied their final strike. Huge landcrawlers moved across the ruins. Plasma cannons charged. Soldiers cheered. "Finish them," barked General Skarn. "We'll wipe the planet clean." The Valeri had no weapons, no army, only the sky above. And just as the cannon lights turned bright blue, the sun disappeared. The sky turns black. First it was a shadow, then another, then dozens. Every Graalvek soldier looked up in confusion. Huge ships broke through the clouds, silent black like floating cities of war. Some were long like blades, others round and armored like hammers. 32 warships blocked out the sky. Then came the voice. Not from speakers, not from inside helmets. From orbit echoed across the Graalvek comms. This world called for help. Earth answered. The first shot. The Graalvek fired first. They sent fighters screaming toward the clouds. Missiles soared. Flak exploded. But the humans didn't flinch. Inside the Titan's reach, Captain Mark Roland gave the order. No mercy, no noise, just precision. Earth ships fired. And the sky caught fire. The human weaponry. Graalvek vessels were built for strength. Human ships were built for speed and surprise. Kinetic railguns punched through armor. EMP fields shut down Graalvek comms mid-command. Hunter drones dove like shadows, disabling ships without pilots ever seeing them coming. Within 12 minutes, 70% of the Graalvek fleet was gone. The rest began to scatter. They had no plan for this, because they had never feared Earth before. On the ground, Valeri citizens crawled from hiding. They looked up expecting death. But instead, they saw ships open. And human soldiers landing. Not with guns raised, but with water, blankets, medical kits. One soldier kneeled beside a crying child and handed over a food packet. "It's okay, you're safe now." The child looked up. "Are you the monsters?" The soldier smiled gently. "No, kid, we're the humans." Ending hook. In orbit, Captain Roland watched the Graalvek fleet scatter into space. He turned to his crew. "Send one last message to the council." The officer nodded. "What do we say?" Mark looked down at the burning world and the light returning to it. "Tell them the sky was empty. So we filled it." The fire that spoke English. The Graalvek were gone. Their ships drifted as ash in the wind of orbit. Their soldiers, those who didn't flee, were bound, disarmed, or buried. And for the first time in weeks, Valeri Prime was quiet. But it wasn't peace. It was shock. The people emerged. From tunnels, caves, and crumbled homes, the Valeri people emerged. Their skin still glowed faintly, blue and silver, pulsing with fear. They didn't speak. They didn't move too fast. They looked at the sky, and at the black ships that now hovered above it. One young boy, his face dusty, looked at his mother. "Did the stars fall down?" She shook her head slowly. "No, I think the stars sent them." First contact on the ground. In the ruins of the capital, Captain Mark Roland walked carefully through the broken streets, followed by a small group of human marines. Their weapons were holstered, their visors were transparent, their hands were raised, palms open. No threat, just presence. At the city square, a group of Valeri elders waited. Standing among them was Sayla, her arm bandaged, eyes tired. She stepped forward. The humans stopped. Then Captain Mark spoke, his voice low and steady. "We're from Earth," you called out. "We heard you. The bond begins. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Sayla stepped closer. She reached into her robe and pulled out a glowing crystal, the same one she had used to send the distress signal. It flickered gently in her hand. This was my scream. She looked into Mark's eyes. You came through fire for strangers. Why? Mark didn't smile. He simply said, because no one else did. The children and the medics. Elsewhere in the city, human medics treated Velari children. One girl flinched as a scanner hovered near her face. The medic pulled it back. No rush, just checking your pulse. He sat beside her, pulled out a snack bar. Want chocolate? She sniffed it, then nodded. One soldier nearby gave her his jacket. Another carried 2 injured Velari to a med ship without being asked. Kindness spread faster than commands. The council watches silently. In the Galactic Council chambers, the delegates watched everything unfold through news feeds. Some stared in silence. Others whispered. They didn't claim territory. They didn't demand payment. They just helped. One delegate leaned forward. We laughed at them. No one answered. Ending hook. That night fires still burned in the Velari Mountains. But now they were campfires. Warm, surrounded by humans and Velari, sitting together. Sayla stood beside Captain Mark, watching the sky. Your fire did not destroy us, she said. It saved us. He looked up at the dark sky, filled with the outline of warships still above. Sometimes fire doesn't have to kill. Sometimes it speaks. She nodded. Today it spoke English. The world that thanked a soldier. The sky over Velari Prime was still dark. Not with ash, not with smoke, but with the shadows of human ships now floating in peace. Below, in the heart of the ruined capital, the Velari gathered, not to mourn, but to thank. A new kind of gathering. For the first time in Velari history, the temple grounds were opened to off-worlders. The glass floor had cracks, the golden pillars were scorched. But the people stood tall. Children with glow bands, elders in robes, families clutching one another. And at the center, a long path had been cleared, lined with fire lanterns and flowers that still bloomed, even in soot. Captain Mark Relan enters. Captain Mark Relan didn't wear armor today. Just a simple dark jacket, hands behind his back. He walked beside Sayla, who wore the traditional silver scarf of her people. As they approached the altar, whispers followed. That's him, the one who answered. The fire that saved us. Mark felt their eyes, but not with fear, not with suspicion, only respect. The gift of the Velari. Sayla stepped onto the altar and raised the signal crystal, now glowing brighter than ever. She spoke, her voice clear. We Velari do not give medals. We do not build statues, but we do something more. She turned to Mark. When someone not of our world becomes family, we offer a name. Gasps filled the air. The crowd stepped closer. A name shared. Sayla extended her hand. Captain Mark Relan, you are no longer stranger. From this day, you are Marankai. It means the one who heard. Mark's eyes widened. He didn't know what to say. So he said what felt right. Then let it be known. Marankai will never leave you unheard again. The crowd bowed their heads. And for a moment, there were no humans. No aliens. Only survivors. Only one people. A ship that stayed behind. That evening, as human ships prepared to leave orbit, one message flashed from the fleet command. Velari secured, Earth response complete. Fleet cleared for return. But Mark typed a reply. One ship remains. Purpose rebuilding. Request approved. Headquarters replied with just one word. Understood. Ending hook. As the sun slowly rose over the horizon, light touched the broken towers of Velari Prime. And near the old signal station, a child stood beside a human soldier asking, Will you leave like the others did before? The soldier smiled. No, little one. We don't leave family. The message sent back. Weeks passed. The fires on Valeri Prime had long died out, but new lights took their place. Human engineers worked beside Valeri architects. Broken towers were cleared, medical pods hummed. The signal station was rebuilt taller and stronger. And in the center of the capital, a new crystal stood. Half human steel, half glowing Valeri stone. Together, the galaxy watches. The story had spread. Every major species had heard it now. They saw the footage. The burning cities, the black warships. The humans who came without permission. Who stayed without orders. Who fought without reward. And something strange happened. The galaxy grew quiet. Not with fear, but with thought. A council reversal. At the next Galactic Council meeting, the Valeri seat, once silent, was filled. Sayla stood there calm, wearing Earth's patch beside her own crest. She spoke clearly. You did not come when we called. Eyes dropped, no one interrupted. But Earth did. They didn't ask what we could offer. They asked if we were alive. She looked up. So now we return the voice you ignored. The broadcast. Back on Valeri Prime, a transmission tower lit up. One signal sent across all sectors. Clear, strong, bright. To all species in need. We were once forgotten. We once screamed into the void. But the humans heard us. And we will not forget them. If your world is on fire, if your skis are black, you are not alone. Because Earth does not wait. And neither will we. The legacy begins. In a quiet training field, human soldiers taught Valeri Guardians how to move, defend, and protect. In a healing garden, a human doctor whispered a joke to a Valeri child, who laughed for the first time since the war. And above them all, the Earthship Titan's reach remained. Not as a weapon, but as a watcher. Final moments. Captain Mark Reland stood once more at the signal tower. Beside him, Sayla placed her hand over the crystal that once carried her scream. She turned to him. You didn't come to conquer. You came because silence felt wrong. He nodded slowly. Sometimes the ones no one expects are the ones who can't stay quiet. Final line. Together they looked to the stars. And across the galaxy, billions of eyes watched. As the humans who weren't supposed to care became the warriors no one could forget. White heavy check marked the end.